what do you want to be? Like, what do you love? Go find that. It's not
100%.
something that the world just gives you. You have to go find it. That is an activity. That is an action. You've got to push different boundaries inside of yourself, or else you're just going to be kind of perpetually searching. But that's the kind of, quote, pressure that I would challenge kids and do, as opposed to, you've got to go do this thing in this system and this hierarchy, and this is what normal looks like, and you've got to make this much money, and you've got to posture like this. And I think it's really damaging to health in every way.
Let's go!
Hello, Jason. Welcome to Fika with Rice. I am so excited to have you on the show. For those that are listening, you have an amazing poster in the background, Enter the Dragon, with my all-time hero, Bruce Lee. You're an ex-Green Beret, the Army Special Forces, served in Iraq, West Africa, Europe, have a business school degree, and you're also the founder of GORUCK. I first heard about GORUCK from Tim Ferriss and how he used it for rucking. I was like, what's rucking? So I looked it up and I found it really cool and thought, you know what? I love your story, Jason, and GORUCK, and I wanted to have you here on Fika with Rice. So we normally
awesome.
start...
Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. We normally start each episode with some rapid fire questions. It has become a tradition here at Fika with Rice, and our audience, they love it. It goes like this. I'll make a statement and then you'll finish the sentence. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can play that game.
Okay, very good. If I was 20 years old today, I would...
think about how to serve my country.
The biggest mistake I made when I was young was...
I'm just trying to figure out which one was the biggest. You know, I think it was to assume that I had to follow the conventional path, because it took me a long time to get off of that path.
Was that conventional path something that your parents put in your mind? Like, all right, Jason, you have to go to school and you have to do this.
It's just the examples that are set for you, you know? When you're young, I think it's a challenging, there's a lot of pressure put on you to do certain things for certain reasons, and, you know, get this kind of job and make this kind of money and be this kind of successful. But I think a lot of times we don't consider how we define those things. So, you know, for me, it was just a different time in our country as well. And it was a lot of Wall Street glorification and stuff like that, which is important. I mean, I believe in capitalism and in business and the American way of life. And that's like, without that, it doesn't exist. But I think that there's great things that you can do in your 20s. And I think we need to give people the license to go do them. I think people need to go see more of the country and see more of the world and get into different kinds of adventures to expand your mind before you just get locked in.
I think you said something
because if you expand your mind, you might not get locked in. See, that's the
exactly
thing. Like getting locked in. That's like, you know, we're building prison cells for ourselves all over the place. And I don't say that, let's not do this kind of way. I'm not here to sit and point fingers. It's just sometimes you gotta, if you're in a prison cell, start drawing the prison cell and figure out how you're going to break out of it, you know?
100%. Like, I had the pleasure to travel, you know, to a lot of foreign countries like yourself. And it's true. Like, it really opens up your mind, you know, and it helps you start to question things like where you grew up and things that are standard where you're growing up or where you're living, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you an example. I spent a lot of time in Germany, and they have, it's called Ladenschluss, because that's on Sunday. And, you know, the stores are shut down. And I show up there the first time, I'm 18 or something. I'm like, this is insane. You shut down the stores on Sunday, and the people are like, yeah, it's so that people can spend time with their families. I'm like, that's insane. So, because then, you know, people go to the gas stations to buy stuff because there's certain stuff that's open. And it's just a small fraction of the economy. But, you know, is that better or worse? I'm not here to sit and say one way or the other. I think the world is what you make of it. But that's something that they've aligned on. And to see that kind of difference, it's like, if all you see is one thing, then you only know one way.
It is true.
Unless you imagine it up. It's just stuff like that, you know. And I got a million more examples, but it's cool to see how people live that's different than how you grow up or what you think is quote normal.
Yeah.
Don't be normal, right?
I like it. Stand out. Yeah, sig when everyone is sagging, you know, or They have the same in France and Spain, and that shocked me too. I'm not saying that everything is open in Sweden on Sundays, but I spent many years after graduation in Asia, and there everything is open 24/7, at least in China and Japan and Thailand where I live. But Spain and France, like it's big, like family-oriented cultures where like things literally closed on Sundays. When I grew up, my biggest dream was
I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a heart doctor.
Oh, okay.
So my grandfather had always had heart problems, and so I was like, I want to be able to fix my grandfather's heart. And unfortunately, I was better at things like math and economics than I was at science and chemistry. So it kind of my path naturally veered one direction. I didn't have to paddle too hard uphill,
yes,
or upstream, I should say. I think it was a good goal.
Of course, we have to dream when we're young, or I think we always should be dreaming. The best advice I received from my mother was,
you can do anything.
When did she tell you that? At what age, more or less?
Always. I mean, it was just my mother kind of just loved me unconditionally and made me think that I could do anything. It's an enormous gift to receive. Yeah. And a lot of people don't get that. And so you have to find it elsewhere. You have to find it inside of yourself somehow. You have to learn how to trust and believe in yourself. And not going to say I didn't have or don't have doubts. I have doubts all the time, right? It's just, do you believe that you can manage through those? And it's foundational. I just believe that I and we can kind of just manage, get through anything.
Yeah, it reminds me as well, and I resonate a lot with that, because I think the biggest gift my mother gave me was that self-belief and that self-confidence that you can do anything in life. And, when you grow older, like in our age, Jason, you get to meet people from all types of backgrounds, and you can see those that grew up without that type of like foundation, like they become different types of people and adults and human beings, I wished I knew when I joined the military.
Man. What do I wish I knew? I wish I knew how to ruck when I joined the military.
Okay.
No joke. I mean, I could say I wish. I think the surprise of it is half the fun. Type 2 fun, of course. And I wish. I don't know. I think the surprise of it was great. Like it changed my heart. This desire to serve, and that was kind of unexpected, right? That gave me a lot of license and a lot of confidence to just go forth. Like it was worth it. It's worth it. That's the biggest thing. But if you're saying in terms of what I could have done to better prepare, I mean, man, all I did was ruck, and I didn't have any idea what that was before I joined the military. So
it's heavier,
Yeah, that's the thing.
I just completed a Spartan Hurricane Heat this past weekend. I don't know if you know what it is, but
yeah. I'm for these things. Like events businesses are terrible businesses to be in. And so the more events businesses that we can get that are out there, that are pushing people past their limits, especially if they have a ruck on, I'm for it. Like go forth and copy the GORUCK challenge, whoever you are out there. We're not stopping you. Go forth and do it.
It's hard to run with a very heavy backpack. To walk, I think it's fine, but to run, like that's really hard,
Well, how fast were you, quote, quote, running?
Well, we were not running too fast because we had to follow like as a line, or I think we were jogging, so to speak.
Yeah, there's a technique though. You got to kind of shuffle a little bit. Keep your feet as low as you can to the ground.
Okay.
Because the higher running puts 9 times your body weight onto your knees. Yes. Because of the gallop, the up and the down and stuff like that. It's a great way to get injured. I mean, it's literally the number one cause of injury in special forces is running. And, this is a fact, right? And it's a pretty bad form of exercise for most people, but do the thing. I believe go do the thing. Rucking is a lot lighter it's a lot more forgiving on your joints. It's 2.7 times when you're walking but if you shuffle, it's probably increase it a little bit. But if you keep your feet as low as you can to the ground, you can move really fast, right? It's just a question of how fast you have to move with the slinky effect that's going on, and so better technique will help preserve your body even better. So go back and do it again. Try it my way.
Oh, I will do so. Thank you, Jason. Why do so many like ex-Navy SEALs, ex-Special Forces like run like the types of David Goggins and so on? Why are they so obsessed about running when it's so bad for their knees?
I mean, it's good for your soul, like pushing your body and
Of
pushing
course, it
your
is.
limits and go forth and conquer and stuff. I mean, I'm for all this. I mean, one of the early cadre at GORUCK used to be, our motto is treat your body like you hate it, right? And it's like there's a part of me deep inside that just loves that. And so,
Yeah.
look, I think it's about what your goals are. And, a
Okay.
lot of people, my wife she ran cross country, she ran track. I got really into running. I drove across the country, ran a marathon, my first one, drove back, on my leave weekend with her. I mean, stuff like that, right? I understand the runner's high. I get it. The problem is that as you get older, it will increasingly it will do more damage to your body. And so you just have to weigh the trade-offs. I mean, and for me, it's just not something. I think a lot of people are looking for something that's easy to do, that's convenient. You can just put your sneakers on and
Yeah, it's
go.
cheap. It
And
doesn't cost anything.
yeah, and I mean, but if you want to get better at hiking or you want to get stronger, I mean, running does in fact kill muscle cells too. It will make not just quote skinnier, but it will kill muscle cells, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's not as effective for fat burning. Rucking, there's all sorts of different reasons why. You put a little bit of weight on your back, you can elevate your heart to the same degree without all the taxation on your body while you get stronger. I mean, it's a different kind of feeling, and so people have to get used to that because you do have weight on your back. It's different
Yeah.
than just going out and being, slick. And these ultra endurance junkies and stuff. I mean, rucking was foundational. Running was practiced a lot throughout all of the training because it's so damn easy to do. Right face, go. You can test time easily. You need no equipment. You can make people run in boots. You can do all these types of things. The problem is that even the application of running, I mean, you basically never run in combat. And by run, I mean a sustained run. It doesn't happen. You always have kit on, you always have gear, and you need to be more explosive than you need to be a long distance runner. So you elevate, it's good for your heart, elevate your cardio base, you get runner's high, that's great. But combat is not like that at all. I mean, you have load and you're sprinting and you're doing all types of explosive type movements that are either load bearing or, sprint up the stairs or sprint behind cover or do that type of stuff. And so more rucking and more explosive type stuff is what we recommend in terms of even the tactical training side.
Okay. All right. My advice to all the 18-year-olds out there.
Go have fun.
Okay. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy being
Take
young.
it. I mean, yeah, but not just, burn it down under a bridge with all the vices. Like, go out and actually do hard things and explore and new things and just get out there and try stuff, because your life has a tendency, especially when you get boxed in, to get more narrow. And so if you don't have these broader life experiences, you don't know how to, your life, you're starting here and it's getting more narrow and more narrow. Whereas if you start broader, you kind of know how to keep it broader. It's like a way of life, at that point.
It's a great advice. I tell all our students that I work with about that. Like, just try to get as
There's so
much
much
experience as possible,
There's just so
Try
much pressure on
jujitsu
kids,
and try
man. There's
everything.
just so
It's
much
true.
pressure.
It
Like,
is true.
you gotta like, what do you want to be when what do you love? Go find that. It's not
100%.
something that the world just gives you. You have to go find it.
Yeah.
And that is an activity. That is an action. That is not you're just waiting, for something to find you. You're not going to find it. I mean, go have fun, drink all the drinks, do all the things. You're not going to find it at the bottom of a beer can or whatever either, right? Or the 100th one. You've got to push different boundaries inside of yourself, or else you're just going to be kind of perpetually searching. But that's the kind of quote pressure that I would challenge kids to go out and do, as opposed to, you've got to go do this thing in this system and this hierarchy, and this is what normal looks like, and you've got to make this much money, and you've got to posture like this, and like, I think it's really damaging to health in every way, right? Mental health, physical health, social health. I mean, we're not asking the right questions of ourselves when we're younger, and so the more that we kind of just accept, I have to take this path. If you just accept those pressures, you're just falling into the trap. Like, the great freedom is to find your independence and use it. Think with independence and freedom, and know yourself. And to do that, you have to challenge yourself.
It is true. It is true. I think there's too many parents out there are putting their kids in violin classes or recruiting his math tutor just because you need to get good grades and so on, instead of thinking, all right, what are the extracurricular activities that actually could challenge my son or my daughter's mindset or body, so to speak, and that could really enrich their lives, for the future.
What does your kid love? You got to expose them. But these I think it's a disgusting race of parents that are trying to live their own lives through their kids.
It's true. It is true.
And it's
baseball and
if that's
soccer,
you, change.
Yeah.
If that is you, change. Literally, I'm looking at you right now. If that is you, change, because we put so much undue pressure on kids if we're trying to make them us. I mean, we have 3 kids. They love each other. They're vastly different in a lot of ways, but they
How
have
old
a lot
are they,
the same.
Jason, your children?
10, 7, and 5.
Okay. So that's the age where they're actually starting to discover what they like to do.
Yeah, I mean, our youngest,
at least the 10 and the 7.
Yeah, but even our youngest, I mean, we realized, because the pandemic was a great way to kind of get to know our kids even better, right? And to be around them more as an opportunity. And our youngest just needs more time outside. I mean, that's just a need in his life. And so he's at Outside Kids for school, and we prioritize taking him outside. I mean, I've taken each boy I've taken on a trip by themselves to Washington, D.C., where we spent a bunch of time and have some friends and stuff. And my older boy wanted to go do completely different things than my younger wanted to go to the zoo, the National Zoo, and walk all around and see the cheetahs and the lions. And he had his lion costume on, and he was not as happy when it was city stuff or he wanted to go on the trails and go Rock Creek Park and stuff. And the other son was wanted to go to the rooftop place and have, Shirley Temples with, all the cherries in the drink. Right. And both were really active. We got out with both of them, but it was just, a different deal. And they're just different kids. They love each other, but they're different. So how do we support them in what because we know them well? That's the goal. We know your kids well. How do we support them and what's going to make them happy? Not what's going to, make me feel like they're making up for stuff that I couldn't do when I was their age.
That's a really good way. I mean, I think our job as parents is really to help our children find themselves in life, All right.
Amen.
All right. For those that are listening that don't know what GORUCK is, Jason, can you tell them?
So it's kind of like fitness thing with backpacks, right? Or rucksacks. And it's foundational is rucking. So put some weight on your back and go for a walk, and then scales all the way up through kind of special forces training, style training, and communities, people coming together for social fitness. So we've got all these communities around the world, and people come together in the real world, old-fashioned style people, right? Real world, outside, do some push-ups, put some weight on your back, go for a walk, see all the stuff that God created in the universe while you're out and about, and have some fun doing it. And that's, we have a whole manufacturing side. We build the rucksacks, and we build the footwear, and we build the apparel from the ground up, and we do all of that. But what we're really passionate about is bringing people together and kind of challenging ourselves in a new way.
Why did you want to start a backpack company / apparel and events company, so to speak, Jason? Because in the beginning, if I understood it correctly, it started as a backpack company. And I mean, there's so many backpack companies in the world.
Yeah, it was just, is the short of it. It was just kind of a hobby. I needed something to do. And so it just, one thing led to another. And then I was in business school, kind of developing. It was just kind of like a live case study. instead of just reading everybody else's case studies. It was just a live case study. So kind of developed it and liked the gear that eventually came out, that we eventually built. And then, really enjoyed bringing people together for some of these challenges that we would put on. And that kind of gave GORUCK the way forward. So not just a gear company, because that stuff is like some dark arts in the background, I mean, you build and test and iterate and do all this stuff with the gear, and then it's like, here it is. And it takes years to do well. And it's, you have testers and stuff, but it's not a community-based thing, And so how do we be more out there with the people was really the goal. And well, that was more fulfilling. I don't know if that was the goal, but it was a lot more fulfilling. And so that became the kind of direction of the brand and the way forward. And that's what motivates us.
I checked the GORUCK website where you promote training, and you've spoken about it now with the backpack where you're rucking, basically walk and carry a backpack. Why is rucking important for training, you would say, Jason?
I mean, the human body is literally built to ruck. I mean, you're built to carry loads, right? I mean, so this idea of what do you want to be able to do in life, right? You want to be able to move and be active and walk for all the days of your lives that you can. And so, to get better at doing anything, I mean, it's a foundational movement. Rucking is a great way to get stronger while you do it. And so it also, you have the weight on your shoulders, so that load transfers all the way down, and it also is posture corrective. So instead of making your kind of keyboard neck or your text neck worse, right? Like going like this, it forces your shoulders back. And I mean, you breathe better. There's all sorts of science and physiology behind why it's a great thing to do. I mean, if every single person on planet Earth rucked more, we would all be healthier.
Yeah, I like it, but it's really hard, if you're not used to it, Jason.
Well, look, I mean, rucking is a word that can get scary at times, right? What does it mean? Like rucking with 10 pounds on your back while you're rucking your dog is completely different than these enormous military packs with 125 pounds in them. They're both rucking. It's like, it's like, well, today I went and bench pressed today I went and did a squat. Okay. Well, there's a difference between an air squat and, 1,000-pound squat, right?
Of course. Yes.
There's a difference.
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing here. It's just, if people don't know, not everybody knows what it is yet. But if you say, hey, I've got 10 pounds, I'm going to try this out, or I've got 20 pounds. If you're relatively fit and you're a male, I'd say 30 pounds would be a good place to start. If you're female, probably 20, a good place to start. If that's too much, then go a little bit lower. But it's a very healthy way to get stronger while you're getting your steps in, and you get to scale the weight. You can talk to the person next to you. It can be true social fitness if you want it to be, or you can, have that good social fitness vibe with your dog.
What's the biggest misconception about rucking, you would say, Jason?
Well, there's a misconception that rucking is special forces training.
Okay.
And it's like we just talked about that.
But that could be good.
Rucking is infinitely scalable. It is infinitely scalable. It is from 10 pounds in your neighborhood. Posture corrective, get stronger, feel tougher, right? I mean, that's a good thing. Like, to feel tougher, you will get tougher, right? You just got to do the thing that makes you feel tougher more. Just get out and do more of it. It's very healthy. There's, do it correctly. It's very healthy. And you can scale that all the way up to what it was scaled up to for me, which was, really heavy rucks, really long distances and all that stuff. But that's not necessarily the goal. It doesn't need to be the goal. We need more people to be more active. That's what we need.
It is true.
More time outside. We need more people to be more outside. We need more people to be together more, right?
Yeah.
And in the real world, not sitting across from each other at dinner texting, like together in the real world. And this is an unlock for people. Once they get it, they kind of get it. It's just, you got to understand that you can build your journey out just like anything. If you never do push-ups, you're going to suck at push-ups. The way to get good at push-ups is to do push-ups. So start out with 10, then move to 20. It's the same with rucking. Start out with 10 pounds and a mile or a kilometer, 2 kilometers, whatever, right? Give it a go, and then just incorporate it over time. And it's a huge unlock for your mental health, your physical health, your social health when you involve other people. And it's great.
Why do you think so many 20-year-olds don't train, Jason?
They don't?
Yeah, I feel like, our generation, I'm 35. I guess you, Jason, are around 40.
Yeah, I'm 42.
42. Yeah. I felt like our generation were training more when we were 15, 16 to 20s. I work with a lot of college students, and I feel like they're not training as much as the previous generation,
Yeah, I don't know what part of this is kind of the last hard class or the last hard generation mentality. The next generation's doing it wrong and all this stuff. I think that there are broad, different types of groups of people that are out there. And, overall, if you look at trends, yes, too few people get enough steps in their day. Look, I just think that the whole kind of notion of fitness is flawed, right? This idea that you have to drive to the gym to do 30-minute classes, to, drive home and searching for the parking spot next to the grocery store that's closest and all this stuff. We just need to be more active. That's really the first goal is be more active. And if you're more active, it'll create good habits. And so, it is that stuff take the stairs. Part of it is you start to put escalators in. Well, 2% of the people take the stairs when there's escalators. Yeah. Be the type of person that takes the stairs. So we're not doing ourselves any favors, making everything easier to move less. That's not a great way to do it. So I think these things will ebb and flow. They'll come in cycles. But, I think city planning and city design has as much to do with macro level heart health as, people sweating in front of their Peloton bikes or whatever. And it's probably healthier to take the stairs than it is. If you said, I'm going to take the stairs every time, no matter what, that's a much more foundational and better habit for the rest of your life than switching from training class to quote, train. Just be more active. Look for opportunities to be more active is a better way to do it. And then you can build strength or communities, and it starts to be fun then. See, that's the thing. Staring at a screen is not fun, right? Going to a class to get, fitness shamed into taking this class and the subscription, it's New Year's, I got to look this certain way, I got to lose this weight. It doesn't work. What does actually work is people coming together in the real world or accountability like that. And so that's the bigger problem, is that stuff is fraying. People are just alone and isolated, and every measure of human health is worse. So I guess your assumption is factually correct. Why are fewer people training? But I don't think it's because kids are born weaker. I think there's just a lot of impediments to the things that actually work for us to be healthier in our lives. And part of it is finding your tribe in the real world with real accountability and people that actually care about you. Not that pretend care about you or that are your quote Facebook friends, but real world communities are just getting obliterated. And so that stuff is really healthy if you find the right club or you find the right group of people. Choose wisely, but find the people that are doing active things, that like to climb mountains and like to ride bikes and go for rucks or go for runs, or like to find a trailhead and see where it goes. Go find the ocean and see how far can I swim. Go be a part of that stuff. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think you grow much more in life. You're gonna have much more memories, I find it's hard also for a lot of young people, Jason, if you're not living in a safe, encouraging, positive, vibrant community. I think it's really hard, and having a good foundation. I think it's at least with people today, young people today that have social media, like with their phones. I'm showing my iPhone right now. I think it's harder for them to actually get out to connect with the community, even though it's so easy because you have these apps, you have so many like companies like GORUCK where you can actually like get access to community. When we were young, Jason, I think it was harder. Like we had the yellow pages, we didn't have the internet to look for a community. We had to ask for friends or parents, friends, and so on in order to get connected to people, right?
Yeah, I mean, like we have more knowledge now, but we're not applying it as well. I mean, we didn't, we had the yellow pages, but we also had bikes that we could run around in, and
it's true.
There was less kind of helicopter parenting and all this stuff. And so, look, I think you bring up a good point when you start to talk about, kids, like the youth. I mean, inner city programs, inner city mentorship, the YMCA's over here, the Boys and Girls Club. I mean, stuff like that is vital. Like kids need safe places to go be active, and trying to make kids sit down. And these are problems that we see over here, but make kids sit down in desks all day, every day, and canceling recess and outdoor time and all this stuff. Like, it's raining today, we can't do anything. Like, go do it anyway. Go do something.
Exactly.
Right? When it gets like raining, I don't care. Get out of the house, right?
It's true. We have this saying in Sweden, that there's no bad weather. There's just bad clothing.
Yeah. Kids need to learn how to choose wisely on that stuff. And so like kids need to be given some freedom. And at the most foundational level, though, they do need to be given safety. So there's these hugely important organizations, and I'm sure, big cities everywhere kind of have them. But in the US, it's the YMCA and the the Boys and Girls Club and stuff like that. And I'm like, let's get the kids more active at a younger age instead of just, eating out of vending machines and doing all that stuff and playing on their phones. It's like the greatest treasure we have is the health of our people, and developing habits at a younger age is a lot better than treating bad outcomes at an older age.
Yeah. You were in the military, Jason, for many years. What's the most valuable lesson that you learned in the military, special forces, that you carried with you and implemented in your journey as a leader, as an entrepreneur?
It's always better to be on a team.
Okay.
I mean, being by yourself, and this kind of, we glorify the individual so much, right? I mean, it's kind of, when you look at the waves of humanity over the millennia, like we're in this era of the individual is king. And that is, America really champions that. The movies champion it. And then people want to be that, the superheroes and all this stuff, the loners that are out fighting crime, the Supermans and the Batmans and the Spider-Mans and whatever. But, deep down, I think what you'll find is that everybody wants to be part of something bigger than themselves. And so if it's important to be a great teammate, you have to first be a great individual. You have to learn the skills, you have to learn the stuff, you have to know how to do your part. But then you have to submit to something bigger than yourself. And that's a really worthy pursuit and a really worthy way of life.
About pursuit, what do you want to achieve with GORUCK? Because, from the day you started it, from a hobby, I mean, I guess you have a company mission, but do you have a personal mission with it? When you're home alone or with your children or with your wife sitting down, when you're out in the forest, you're thinking by yourself. As an entrepreneur myself, like obviously we have like goals for the company, but I also have like personal missions, like personal objectives with it. Do you have a personal mission with GORUCK that you would like to achieve?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with the kind of stated goal of rucking is bigger than running.
Okay.
And so move from that though into, what's the second, third order effects of that? And it's kind of more people being more active, more consistently, and doing it in the real world together. And that stuff really excites me. So building and empowering communities of people close to them. Because, at some point, GORUCK manufactures stuff. We're a quote company, but we'd rather be a revolution and a movement, because that's empowering to people. right? So wherever you are free. You are free right when we're done here. You are free to go outside. You are free to go, put something on your back. You're free to call your buddy up and say, hey, do you want to go do this thing? Do you want to go for a ruck, a run, a bike ride, or whatever, right? People are free to do that and to organize groups of people that go and do that stuff. And I think that so much of everything is pointing in the opposite direction to that this day and age.
Yeah.
I mean, if you follow the money, all the money is pointing at stare at your phone more. Everything will solve all your problems. And
yeah.
I think it's creating more problems than it's solving. And it goes back to what kind of life do we want to lead, and how do we value our time, and are we happy, and what are our goals? And, like, there's this thing that I ask inside of GORUCK, whether it's, this campaign or this product. It's like, is it working? It's a really important thing, because it forces you to think about
it's
basic. What do you mean? Is it working? What do you mean?
Yeah,
is it working?
It's fundamental.
Is it working? Right?
Yeah.
Like, you can tell me that all this stuff is great and all this, like, is it working? Right? I mean, like, you have to define success then. See, that's the part that I think is missing from so much stuff. Like, what do you want to be? If my only goal here were, or if my goal at all, frankly, were to build GORUCK into the biggest business that I could, and then flip it and sell it and make as much money as possible, like, that's a different path than what we're on. And I'm okay with that. Like, I don't want to be on that path, because there are certain trade-offs to doing that.
Exactly.
that are not, like, what else am I going to do with my life then? Like, I'm going to have to find a new mission and a new whatever.
Yeah.
And I can do that. I guess I could do that with more money in my pocket, but that's just not what's the point? That's not how I define success.
That's the dilemma that I've had as well, with our company at Absolute Internship, that I'm so passionate about inspiring people and inspiring young students to really expand their horizons and change their lives and really follow their passions. And we've been getting offers, to sell the company and so on. And obviously, we'll make a lot of money, but I would ask myself, I'm just 30 something. What would I do with all this money? What would I wake up and be excited about? Because what I've been very excited about for the last decade is now taken away from me, So I think that's a great point you're putting out there, Jason. What's really the definition of success to you? I think it's a very, very good question. You built GORUCK now into $100+ million business. If I've done my homework correctly, because not everything on the internet is correct, right? But what has that taught you about success per se, Jason?
Success is very temporary, and it's a very fragile thing. It's like tomorrow's success is never guaranteed. And you can look back and you can say, hey, this thing, and look at this, and look what we did. And you need to celebrate certain moments and milestones. And I'm not the best at doing that. To be frank, I'm not really. It's like new product design and development is a good kind of metaphor for the cycle of my life, where 2 years ago we had this idea for this thing, and then it took forever, and we poured our heart and our soul into it, right? And then eventually it's out, and we release it to the world, because we built it from the ground up, and so much testing and so much, if you the way that our team uses me the best is they hand me new gear stuff, and they're like, tell me why you hate this, right? And I find great pleasure in abusing gear like that to figure out why I hate it. And because then out of that, iron sharpens iron, and you get great product.
Of
right?
course.
But so by the time it's launched, and there's whatever success or lack thereof sometimes, I'm already on 5 more projects that are actually fun. They're in the fun stage of, tell me why you hate this product, right? And this is just on the product side. The community side is kind of different. But yes. It's like the celebrations are not always, it's like, okay, great, we sold this many. I don't care, right? I mean, eventually, of course, I do care because I believe in our way of life and growing it, but it's not this big kind of victory parade. So it's just, I mean, you got to keep moving forward, but I got to remind myself to celebrate victories for the team as well, because all that stuff is a team effort. I mean, you can't, like, product teams can't just market products as well, and they're not picking and packing boxes, and there's a lot of thankless tasks that go into all of this. And at some point, you know, a lot of times the people that get all the thanks don't care about it, but the people that don't get any, you got to throw them more. And people are complex and very rewarding, and being on a team is great. See how I closed that loop there?
I did. I saw and I heard. But Jason, like, you've been an entrepreneur for many, many years now and a leader for GORUCK. How have you continued? Like, what type of tools, books, methods, like, what have you done in order to, like, keep developing yourself as an entrepreneur without falling, like, into the comfort zone? Or like, oh, we're doing so great, like, all right, today I can, like, rest a bit, like, okay, like, well, we did really well, like, the last few months, like, without getting into
I don't
that
know.
mindset.
This is a kind of, I'm just kind of not built like that. And I don't know if that's something that is, my dad was had a union job for 42 years in Dayton, Ohio, right? I mean, he was a pressman, and he went to work, you know, basically 40 hours a week, you know, punch the time ticket, and he's probably the happiest person I've ever met, right? Certainly up there, right? He's got his community of people, you know, they ride Harley Davidsons, they fix Harley Davidson in his garage. They kind of, he's got this group of friends. It's great, right? It's I would call it a simple life, you know? And I have reverence. I have reverence for simplicity, right? I mean, absolute and utter reverence. And so the thing is that that's not me. It's just not me. I love my dad. I love time with my dad. I love time with my dad in Ohio. I love when he comes down here. I'm just not like that. And so, you know, I think the maybe correct way, or the slightly different perspective is, you know, how to kind of find quote balance in life. And part of that is, you know, what matters? How do you define success? And having kids was a game changer, right? I mean, it's, you know, a wife and kids. I mean, what's the point of having a company if, you know, it costs you everything else?
Yeah.
And so, you know, you have to remind yourself stuff like that, though. Like, what is the point? You know, like it's like, or, you know, find a mentor or two that have been around the block and invest in those kinds of relationships. And they don't have to be people that you see every day. I mean, I've got one or two that I see, you know, a couple times a year, but I follow what they do with their lives. And I kind of see, some of them are in, you know, they write articles about them. Some of them, you know, I just kind of just track them a little bit, right? Check in from time to time too. But, you know, you see what they're up to, and then, you know, you see how they're going about their lives, whatever. And then you check in and you have better questions. And, you know, it becomes a two-way street at the same time. Of course. So find some mentors to help you make, you know, better choices that are better for you, not better for just the outcomes that you want, but better for you personally. And, you know, I think that'll probably always be a struggle with me. I mean, if you gave me my computer and, like, you know, told me to work 18-hour days for the next 3 months, like, that's where I'd get the dopamine hit in my head. Be like, wow, that's great. You know, just give me my freedom. But it's not, it's like, it would be trading. Everything has a cost. So what are you trading in order to do that? And, you know, I'm not willing to trade everything for that. Although in the early days, that's what it was. So it evolves.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely resonate with you, you know, with your children. I just became a father. I have a 5 months daughter at home.
Is she sleeping through the night yet?
Yeah, she is, Jason.
All right. That's what's up, right?
But I definitely hear you,
awesome.
you know.
Congrats.
Thank you, Jason. I appreciate that. No, but I completely agree. And I resonate with you when you say, okay, everything is a trade-off, because if you're spending 18 hours per day, like working on GORUCK, that means that you don't have like, that's 18 like hours that you could have spent with your family, you know, and your wife, so to speak, right?
But I also think like
So,
I don't want to spend 24 hours a day with my kids, you know, like they need some freedom and some independence away from me.
of
So
course, yeah.
the real thing is how to spend quality time and understand. And my wife is way, I mean, she kind of she can read tea leaves much better than I can, right? And so she's really intuitive with all of this stuff. And you know, she's the pulse of our family. And, you know, she'll kind of pull me in sometimes. And sometimes she's like, no, this is worth going, go forth and go do your thing over here for a bit on this other thing. I mean, that's just a conversation that we have, you know?
Yes.
And, but I don't want to just not know my kids. Like, that's not like, just because you have kids doesn't mean you're doing the whole dad thing right, you know?
Yes, of course,
So
of course. I think important communication with your spouse, I think, is extremely important, you know, and what you're saying, the balance, and that balance is different for each couple, you know, and each person, so to speak.
yeah.
What do you do when you're not working, Jason? Like, what are some of your hobbies?
I enjoy taking my kids to the zoo in Washington.
Yeah.
No, I mean it's usually just, you know, we've got a group of got a group of friends that are in, we live in a beach town in Florida, and you know, we're biking around with our kids. We go to the pool. I mean, look, I got a full-time job and I got a family, and those are my priorities. And so right now, you know, our kids are young and they need us to be around more than they will in the future. So it's just a heavy investment in them. And frankly, if I'm, you know, a lot of times it crosses over into GORUCK stuff, or we're taking a trip somewhere because there's a GORUCK event there, or just kind of like combining the two, but also learning how to carve out some of the time to go to the museums or to show them something for the first time, or you know, I enjoy the time with them.
It's important. You're not like into jujitsu or taking them to martial arts classes or anything like that?
So yeah, my kids actually just started jujitsu. I'm like, I got to figure out the schedule of it, but you know, my wife started surfing last year, like complete
Okay.
beginner, and has taken it up and just loves it. I haven't done that. You know, my kids have started jujitsu, complete beginners. I want to get into that. I just, you know, this past year I had a couple other really big initiatives as well, and so it was just like it was hard to. I say it was hard. I didn't make the choice to introduce a bunch of new stuff. Maybe I should have, but I'm kind of taking a deep breath now, and I want to go back and be a beginner on something like that
Yeah,
again. And so the
it
water's
helps you, you
warm in
know?
Florida right now, whether it's surfing or, you know, the jujitsu stuff. But I'll give you an example. There's a jujitsu class at the same place where my kids are. The only
Okay.
adult time that is adult mat time is 7 p.m. to 8:15. That's
Okay.
like the most important time at our house with our
Yeah.
kids, you know, because it's bedtime and
Yeah.
it's dinner time and bedtime and dessert time and all that stuff. And it's great right now. It's a summer in Florida,
Of
and I'm
course.
just not willing to trade off the 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 personal time right now to go to pursue that when that's I need to be home with my kids. And those kinds of challenges face us all the time. I mean, yeah, go find a different studio and do all that. Like, yeah, there's impediments to infinite knowledge or finding out the perfect place. And, you know, maybe it's farther away and it takes a lot more time. There's lots of barriers, right? But that's just
It's
where I
true.
am on that one. But I do want to do more stuff like that.
Yeah, I think so. I definitely resonate with you, you know. I think it's really hard as a father, you know, and also as a husband. Like, okay, what are my priorities? And then like, okay, I'll do my priorities and then like I can focus on my hobbies, you know. But anyway, hobbies, I think they're important, you know, for us as human beings, and especially for entrepreneurs to keep ourselves
Mm-hmm.
creative. And especially when we try something new, like it doesn't have to be jujitsu. I think like surfing. I surfed, I think it was 2-3 years ago in Brazil for the first time. Never been on a surfboard, and it's extremely challenging, and it puts you in a spot where you haven't been for years, because most of the things that you try for the first time is when you're a child, So I think it's really, really great. I loved it. And I think it's great as an adult to try something new, because it gets these creative juices flowing, and it challenges you.
Yeah.
And that's how you grow.
Yeah. I mean, it also, specifically, I mean, your brain has to focus. And part of the problem, I think, is I can get lost in, it's not quality time with your kids or any quality time at all if you take them to the park and you stare at your phone the whole time because you're triaging this problem and that, or your brain starts just wandering. You don't even know where am I? Because you're thinking about whatever else problems of the day. And so, I've found that with firearms stuff. So guns, I mean, like if you're at the range, you have to focus on it. And that's like a trained thing, because it's a mortal threat to everything around. So you can't be thinking about the work problems or the whatever. And same with kind of new stuff. I mean, I've done stand-up paddleboarding a couple times, and it's very frustrating for me, and I have to absolutely focus on it. And that's a break for the brain in a way that is hard to manufacture if you're trying to say, for me personally anyway, okay, like take your kid to the park and just relax. It doesn't really work that way.
Same. I'm in the same boat, Jason. Like I can't go to the park and just relax with my daughter, because you have this thing in your pocket, right? The phone or whatever, like daily problem you're like thinking about. So yeah, it's the gym, like, or going for a run, go for a walk, or going to a jiu-jitsu class for me.
You need to start rucking up, man. Get stronger.
Yes, I will. I will, Jason. I think so. I got really hooked up, by the event. I really enjoyed it. So what's the book you've gifted the most to people, Jason?
There's a great book called Man's Search for Meaning.
Okay.
Which is, it's a short read as well about a guy who survived the Holocaust concentration camp, and just man's search for meaning, like why some people made it and why others didn't. And it's a really good read. I also love Sapiens and Empire of the Summer Moon, and there's a bunch more.
That Man's Search for Meaning, it's a super deep book, like an extremely
but
deep
fast
book.
and simple.
And
like it's not complicated.
Exactly. So, and it costs like $5 on Amazon, So I love that book. I think most of the books, Jason, that are classics, that are like 100 years old or 80 or 60 year old, like the really good books, they're really cheap and they're really underrated, So.
Yeah, I mean, people think it's like, man, I can't find anything worth reading. It's like, what do you like? Oh, I like, fiction. Like, well, have you read everything that Hemingway wrote? And it's like, who? I mean, or they've heard of Hemingway because he's on some bar somewhere, like Hemingway would drink here or whatever. It's like, no, go read the books, man. Like, have you read all the Lord of the Rings? Have you read, like, these are great books. Go. Like when I was backpacking all over the place, I remember I read all 3 Lord of the Rings and was like traded people and these books. It was great, man. And like, go read all that stuff. There's so much great stuff out there. And you just got to pick it up and do it.
It's been a pleasure to have you on the show, Jason. Where can people find you to learn more about you?
GORUCK's on all the stuff. It's always GORUCK. And then I'm on social media as well. I mean, Jason J. McCarthy on Instagram for one. I'm on there probably too much. I probably need to reduce my intake. But I'm on all the things, pretty responsive. If you guys have any questions, shoot them my way.
Thank you very much, Jason. Everyone who's looking to invest in a new backpack or wants to challenge yourself to grow, check out all the events that GORUCK put together. Okay. Thank you very much and take care, Jason. A lot of gratitude for listening to Fika with Rice. I really mean that. If you like the show, I would love if you can leave us a 5-star review, whatever you're listening to your podcast. It helps us so much to get the word out there to other listeners. If you have any questions or any feedback, I would love to hear from you. I'm just a DM away on Instagram or TikTok at Freddy Van Hun. So looking forward to hearing from you guys. Thank you so much.
Let's go!